Hello, my name's Ben Lowry from vguitarlessons.com, and in this mini video guitar lesson I'm going to show you a cool riff from a Justin Timberlake song. The song is Rock Your Body, and obviously it was one of his big hits, but the reason I wanted to show you it is it's not a typical style of music that we usually play on guitar, but there's actually quite a funky riff in it that goes like this. And it's just fun to play, you know, it feels great, it's a nice riff, it's funky, and I thought it'd be a good one to show you. So let's get started. Now, what I'm going to ask you to do is put your first finger on the first string at fret 8, and then use your middle finger to go onto the third string at fret 10. And then put your third finger right next to it on the second string at fret 10. And so it's just those three notes that we're using, and you can look at the chord diagram next to me just to see the notes that we're holding down. Now, the interesting thing is, it's easy enough to hold those notes down, but actually the most difficult bit in this riff is actually the strumming with the plectrum, because what we want to do is just strum those three strings. Just give it a go. Just make sure they sound nice and clear. Make sure you're not making any kind of obvious mistakes, like, you know, the back of the third finger accidentally touching the first string or anything like that. Just make sure they all sound clear. Okay, now let me just show you the chords first. So pluck those twice like this. And you can see that I'm causing the note to stop abruptly by releasing the pressure on this hand. So if I were to hold the chord down and just hold the pressure down and strum twice, it would sound like this. But what I'm doing, I'm strumming and I'm releasing the pressure on my hand, and that obviously causes the notes to stop. So you can get this effect. So I'm creating that effect by strumming and then releasing my fingers immediately. So you can get the hang of that. You don't have to take your fingers away from the guitar neck. All you got to do is just lift the pressure, okay? So start off nice and simple, just holding it down. And then practice releasing the note like that, and it causes it to stop. And eventually you can get it sounding really sharp and tight, you know, with a bit of practice. So what that means is, no sooner have I strummed it, I've actually released the pressure from my fingers. Okay, so you can practice that, and there's no rush. Be patient with yourself. It takes a bit of getting used to, but it's just a cool technique that you'll be able to employ in other songs, you know? That's what I love about learning songs and learning famous riffs. It's all very well learning other people's songs, that's cool, and I enjoy playing other people's songs, but the great bonus is that by playing different styles and different songs by different bands, you teach your fingers different techniques, you know, that different guitarists use in different styles. And it actually makes you a very rounded, you know, all-round good player just by learning other people's songs. So there's nothing wrong with playing, you know, pop songs and stuff. It's all good for your guitar playing. Anyway, so what we're going to do, we're going to play that one twice. And then we're going to move these notes up 2 frets. So now our first finger's on fret 10 on the first string, and the other fingers are on the third string at fret 12 and the second string at fret 12. But it's basically exactly the same, just 2 frets higher. And you're just going to strum it once. Okay? So if we join that together, we've got this. Okay, now the third chord is pretty simple. It's an E minor chord, but it's the first string at fret 7 with the first finger, it's the middle finger on the second string at fret 8, and the third finger on the third string at fret 9. Okay, and of course, as usual, look at the chord diagram next to me, and we're going to strum it like this. Now, if you watch my plectrum very closely, you'll see that I'm strumming down, and then up, 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 down. So just to repeat, it's down, up, 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 down. So we've got a down and an up motion with the plectrum. And of course, I'm using the same technique by releasing the pressure from these fingers to stop the note. But like I said already earlier, you'll need to practice that. At first, it'll sound like this when you just hold them down. And then as you get used to releasing the pressure, you can get used to doing it like that, okay? So let's join all this together. Okay? Now, of course, once you've learned the basic notes that I've already showed you on the tab, the next thing you're going to be wondering how to do that kind of funky, choppy stuff. Now, it's not as difficult as it sounds. It's quite straightforward, actually. What it is, you're going to have to practice the chop. And what that is, like we've already said, when you're just touching the strings, when you've released the pressure from your fingers, so you're not holding them down, and what happens is, if you strum, when your fingers are just gently touching the strings, then of course you'll get a dead sound. Now what I want you to do, I want you to do some funk practice, and you'll see that, let's hold down the first chord. Not only am I holding down those 3 notes, but I'm using actually the side or the tip of my middle finger to also touch the 4th string a little bit. And what that does, that stops the 4th string from accidentally making a noise, you know, if we accidentally strum it, which we probably will. So let me be clear. I'm holding down the 1st string, like we've already said. This is the 1st chord, fret 8, and then the 2nd and 3rd string at fret 10, as you already know. Now the side or the tip kind of thing of that middle finger's touching the 4th string, and look what happens. Over the top, my thumb is gently come over the top to touch the 6th and the 5th string. So the effect is that the 6th, 5th and 4th string are muted because the thumb and the tip of this finger are touching them, and the 1st, 2nd and 3rd string, the notes are being held down. Okay? And what that means is we can strum all the strings, and the notes that we don't want to hear are muted and dead, and the notes that we do want to hear, which is the 3rd, 2nd and 1st string, we can hear them, okay? So, and that means, that allows you to do this funky... So what you can do, you can put the pressure on when you want to hear the note. You can release the pressure from all the notes when you just want to have a chop. So what I encourage you to do is practice chopping. And then put the notes on. And I'm aiming just for the correct strings, but what happens is, if I accidentally strum the 4th, 5th or 6th string, then they're muted and we won't hear them. But mainly you just want to aim for the 3 strings that you're actually using. So what I want you to do is practice chopping like this. Hold down the note for 1 beat, release the pressure and do an upward stroke, and a downward stroke, and an upward stroke. So downwards, we want to hear the notes. And when you come back up, release the pressure. So just practice, just use it as an exercise, like that. So it's down on the 1st beat, and we want to hear the notes, and what happens is, if you join it together, you can practice your funky chopping style. Okay? And then what you can do, you can change it around. You can choose to hear the notes on the 1st and 3rd stroke. So you'll hear 1, and then release the pressure for the 2nd upstroke, and then put the pressure back on for the 3rd stroke down, and then release the pressure for the 4th stroke up. So it'll be... In other words, we want to hear the downstroke. So it'll be... Now, it's easier said than done. You'll have to practice it. You'll have to get used to chopping. Okay, so if I play the full Justin Timberlake riff in slow motion so you can see where I'm doing the chops, I might not necessarily explain every last little chop to you, but if you use your ears and use your eyes and watch what I'm doing, you'll be able to see where I'm holding down the note so I can hear it, as opposed to releasing the pressure, and watch the down and up strokes that I'm doing. So first, I'll play it at full speed, okay? Okay, now slow motion. in theory, your strumming hand should be able to continuously strum down and up, and then in theory you could just use your fretboard hand, your neck hand, just to press when you want to hear a note. So in theory, your right hand could be a continuous strumming cycle. Do you see what I mean, okay? So practice the chopping like that, and practice pressing when you want to hear the note. And of course, you wouldn't necessarily, in real life, you wouldn't continue that chopping cycle continuously. Okay? You'd actually, you wouldn't play all those notes, but you'd play some of them in between the actual notes that you wanted to hear, some of the chops. So it's going to be down to you. Just practicing that. Just touching the strings. Just keep practicing that, and then you can apply it. Okay, there you go. It's a mix, okay? It's a balance between the two. It's partly just playing the notes straightforward, like I showed you at the start of the lesson, and then it's partly using a few of those little dead note chop things in between, and it's just about finding a balance just where it sounds funky, okay? So, you know, experiment, enjoy it, try different things, see how you get on, practice the chopping, practice the up and down, motion with the plectrum, and enjoy it, which is the most important thing. My name's Ben Lowry. I'll see you in one of our other video guitar lessons on vguitarlessons.com. Thanks for joining me.